All right, exciting day, because it's the very last brand new lesson we're going to teach. Now, I'm going to be teaching some stuff. I'm going to be recording stuff, still putting it on YouTube, but it's going to be all review stuff, right? So on Monday, we'll review for the quiz. The quiz will be 12-1, 12-2. We'll take the quiz on Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll review for the final exam, all right? And then that'll be it for me standing up here talking, all right? But this is the last brand new lesson that we're going to do, all right? So here we go. We're going to use some of that trig stuff that we learned, I guess, yesterday. Yesterday was the first day we did trig, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to use some of that to find some missing parts to a triangle. Isn't that what geometry's pretty much been all about this year? Is just finding missing angles, missing sides, generally, right? We've done other things, but generally, that's what it's been. And that's what it kind of is all about. So we're going to learn some more things today that's going to help us find some missing sides. All right. And this is 8. Oops. And this is in centimeters. All right, so here you go. They tell you one angle. Well, they tell you two angles. They tell you this is 90 degrees. They tell you this is 72. They tell you one side. So what are we missing? We're missing angle A, correct? Yeah. We're missing side C and side B. That's what we have to find, okay? The way they tell us is this. They say solve the triangle, all right? They might write the word triangle in here, but I just shortened it. When they say solve the triangle, it means solve for all the missing parts. Man, I got 4 of you out already. I barely even started. Come on, heads up. You should be writing stuff down. This is your last day. Somebody tap him. All right, here we go. Come on, you got to pay attention. You kidding me? Can't believe that you're sleeping already. Haven't even started. So what do we want to solve for first? Without knowing any trig whatsoever, I should be able to solve for one of the missing things. Angle A. Very easy. We did this early in the year. How do I find angle A?
Add 90 and 72 together, subtract that one.
You could, but that's a lot of things to do. There's an easier, a more streamlined way. It's like...
Pythagorean triple.
No. Pythagorean triple doesn't help you find an angle. Do what? Say it. You're about to say it.
72.
From? Yeah, don't even go 180. Because look, you already got a 90, right?
Oh, add 90 and 72 together.
Don't even do that.
Subtract 72 and 90.
Thank you. Subtract 72 from 90. So watch. Angle A, that's the easiest, quickest way to do this. Wouldn't you agree? It's just 90 minus 72. Because this is 90 degrees, the whole thing is 180, so these two angles must add up to what? 90 degrees. So how do I find the missing one? I just take it away, right, from 72. I take 72 away from the 90, and then I got this angle. So that's the quickest, easiest way to do it. So what is that? Angle A is, how about 18? All right, so that's 18 degrees. All right, there we go. So we got one down. 2 more to go. We got to find B, we got to find C. So let's do B first. We'll just go in alphabetical order. All right, doesn't matter. So let's find B. We could use this angle, or we could use this angle. It doesn't matter. Which one would you rather use? The 72? All right, we'll use the 72. So if I use the 72 and I want to solve for B, and I know this side, we got to figure out which trig ratio am I going to use. All right, what are my choices? I got 3 choices. What are they? Sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, which one of those do I use? Well, do you remember what our little thing is? It's sine what? SOHCAHTOA. What does this mean? This means the sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. I know it doesn't say over right here, but that's just how we remember it. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. The cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. The tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. So if I'm using this angle 72 and I'm trying to find B and I know 8, then which one? What is B to 72? It's opposite, right? The B is opposite, correct? What is the 8?
Adjacent.
That's adjacent.
Toa.
Okay? So I use the TOA, the tangent. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to go the tangent of what? Of the angle. What's the angle? 72. That's the one I'm dealing with. Okay? So it'd be the tangent of 72 degrees equals the what over the what? Opposite, which is B, over the adjacent, which is 8. All right? You serious? Right as I start this? If I let you sleep, you would have just stayed there. You wouldn't have had to go to the bathroom, wouldn't you?
I wasn't asleep.
Well.
He's on his phone.
Oh, is that what he was? All right, so how do I solve for B? So I set it up. Everybody with me on this? This is the setting up part is really super important. I mean, it's all important, but this is like the main thing, the new thing that we had to learn, all right? So how did I know to use the tangent? That's what students ask me all the time, Mr. Hammer. I don't know whether I use a sine, cosine, or tangent. How am I supposed to know? Well, what you're trying to find and what they give you, that's going to tell you which trig function you're going to use. So if I'm using this angle, this is opposite, and if I'm using this angle, this is adjacent. Which one uses opposite and adjacent? The tangent. So that's how we know to use the tangent. Okay? So now I got to solve for B. How do I solve for B? Well, I got to get rid of the 8. The 8's being divided. How do I get rid of something that's being divided? I multiply. Okay, I multiply by 8. Then I come over here and I multiply by 8 over here. The 8's cancel. So what's B equal to? It's just 8 times the what? The tangent of 72 degrees. Now, I'm not going to leave it like that. What am I going to do to this? Put it where? Into a calculator. So let's do it. Now again, on my calculator, I can do this every single time. Got to change it 2 degrees because I closed it out earlier. All right. So now, on this calculator, this is how we do it. You got to pay attention to this as well. Not every calculator works the same way. We just had a discussion on that before I started teaching this lesson. So this calculator, you put it in exactly the way it looks. All right. So you're going to put in 8, then you're going to put tangent, and you're going to put 72. I like to close the parentheses since they give you parentheses right there. And then I hit enter, and there it is. So B, side B, the length of B, is 24.6. We'll just round it to 1 decimal place. All right, that's what they say in the book. So that's what we'll do. So B is 24.6. Now it's not exactly 24.6. Why? Because we did what to it? We just rounded it, okay? We rounded to the nearest tenth. So it's not exactly, it's approximately. I still put an equal sign there, but technically it's approximately. All right, so we got one of the sides. Now I got 2 sides. How could I solve for angle or side C? I could do the same thing. Okay, I'm not going to use tangent this time though. I'm going to use something else. All right, let's do this in a different color. So I got too much white right here. Okay, so you could do it, or you could do something else. Look, I know 2 sides of a right triangle. Don't even think trig. I could solve for C without using any trig at all. Pythagorean theorem, right? I could do that. But listen to me. I would rather not use Pythagorean theorem because this is an approximate. Well, it's not just because it's a decimal. It's because then it's approximate. Okay, it's not exactly 24.6. Okay, I would like as much as I can. I would like to keep it exact numbers. So let's not do Pythagorean theorem. No, we could, and we get really close. And my guess is it would probably round to the same exact thing. All right, but since we're learning this trig stuff, let's just use trig again. All right. Let's use the 72 again. But this time, I'm not solving for B, I'm solving for what? For C. And I still know the 8, don't I? All right? So now, what do I got? I got this side, which is 8, and I got this side, which is hypotenuse. Okay, I got adjacent, I should say that. This is the adjacent, this is the hypotenuse. Which trig function uses adjacent and hypotenuse? Which is the cosine. All right, don't say ca. I know why you're saying it, and it's fine if you say it in your head, but you're not using the ca, you're using the Cosine, right. You're using the cosine. Everybody with me? So let's do it. Let's use the cosine. Cosine of which angle? Which angle are we dealing with? 72. So the cosine of 72 is equal to what over what? Adjacent over hypotenuse. So it's going to be 8 over C. Thank you. Now this is a little bit trickier than this one. On this one, to get b by itself, all I had to do was one thing. Multiply both sides by 8. But on this one, look where the c is. It's not on top. Where is it? It's on the bottom. So I got to do two things to it. First of all, I got to move it over to the left side. So how do I move that c over to the left side?
You gotta put it to the right.
I'm going to multiply it by c. Then I'm going to multiply this side by c. All right, everybody see what happens? The c's cancel out. So now what do I have? I got c times the cosine of 72 is equal to what? What do I have over here now? Just an 8. 8 over 1, or just 8, right? Now remember, the cosine of 72. The cosine of 72 is just a number, right? It's a decimal number, but it's just a number. How do I get rid of a number that's being multiplied by that variable c? How do I get rid of something that's being multiplied? Watch. I divide. That's right. Look, what if I had this? How do you get rid of, or how do you get x by itself? Divide both sides by 3. So what do you do here? How do I get this c by itself? Divide both sides by the cosine of 72. Not just 72, but the cosine of 72, which is just a number. It's just a decimal number, all right? That's what you have to remember. Now, if I did it to the left side, what do I have to do over here? Do it to the right side. Okay? So you had to do two steps. When c was on the bottom, you had to multiply it by both sides to get it on top. Then you had to get rid of the cosine of 72, so we divide it. So you had to do two different things, which shouldn't be that big of a deal. Oops. All right, so now we're going to put this into our calculator. You got to practice this. Make sure you practice it. So what do we get? We get 8 divided by what? The cosine of 72. Put that in your calculator right there. Hit equals or enter. This is your answer. So side C is equal to what? 25 point, is it? Is it? 1 decimal place. 0.9, because this is 0.88. That second 8 rounds that first 8 up to a 9, so it's going to be 25.9. And that is how you find those missing parts. So now we put that sine, cosine, and tangent into practice. Okay, we use it for a real practical reason. Finding missing sides, finding missing angles. All right, that's what we're trying to do. Found the missing angle. Well, we didn't use trig to find the missing angle, but we will in this next one. All right, but we did find, we used the trig in order to find these two missing sides. We would have not been able to find side B before today. All right, without knowing this stuff, there's no way you could have found it. All right, but now we do. We got more tools under our belt so we can use. All right, I'm running a little short on time, so if I do not finish while I'm thinking about it, if I do not finish, I did finish in the last class, okay? So go to the other class's video if I don't finish this one, all right? So I'm going to try to get done, but if I don't, make sure you watch the other class. It's the same exact stuff. Everybody okay with that? Yeah. All right. That's the nice thing about me recording these things, but you got to take advantage of it. Let me show you this real quick. Let me just put, I'm going to do this a little different than I did in the last class. Might make a little more sense to you. Now look at this. What if I said the sine of A equals 3 over 5? Like this would be my opposite over my hypotenuse, wouldn't it? You see that? The sine is opposite over hypotenuse. But what if I wanted to actually find what the angle was equal to? I wanted to find the actual degrees of that angle. Well, let me show you something real quick. Do you remember we did this just a few minutes ago? How did I get rid of that 3? I did what? I divided. How did you know to divide? Because it's being multiplied. And multiplication and division are opposites of each other. Or in math, a lot of times we say they're inverses of each other. Everybody hear me? All right? They cancel each other out. Would you agree? So this is multiplication. If I divide by a 3, they cancel out. So I got rid of that 3. Make sense? I'm going to show you something that you've never seen before. It's going to look real weird, but just deal with it. The other class caught on pretty quick, and I was happy about that, so you should as well. What if I had the sign? Well, let's do this. I'm going to write it like this. Here's the symbol. Sign to the negative first. You're like, okay, where does that come from? I see it in your face, okay? And I agree with you. If you've never seen this before, you're like, that's really weird. I could go through and show you kind of where they got that from. I'm not going to because I only got 6 minutes left, okay? This means the inverse of something. So that means it's kind of like if something's being multiplied and a divide, they cancel each other out. So if I took the inverse sign of the sign, what do you think they're going to do to each other? They're going to cancel each other out. Does that make sense? Don't worry about why that symbol looks that way, all right? But that's what it looks like. That's the inverse. So check this out. If I want to get A by itself, I got to get rid of the sign. So how do I get rid of a sign? How do I get it to cancel out? I take the inverse sign of it. How do I show inverse sign? Sign to the negative first, all right? So watch this. Whoops. And I also got to take the inverse sign of the other side. Remember, whatever I do to one thing, I got to do to the other. Okay? So look what happens. What happens to this inverse sign and this sign? They cancel each other out. That's what I wanted to happen because I wanted A to be by itself. Now it is. But now I got to do this. You're like, oh, what am I going to do with that? Well, check out the calculator. Look, it's kind of hard to see because it's a little bit small, but do you see the sign right behind the sign? You see a sign to the negative first, don't you? All right, that's the inverse. How do I get to that? It's in yellow. How do I get to it? I hit second function and then sign. See what the calculator does for me? It writes sign to the negative first. Now what do? Sign to the negative first of what? 3 divided by 5. So put 3 divided by 5, close the parentheses, hit equals, and there it is. So angle A is equal to what? 36 point, what's that? 86, that 6 rounds that 8 to a 9. And that is an angle, all right? This is angle A. So look, you just found a missing angle. Let's do an example where we're going to use this. I know I'm going kind of quick here, but I have to because I don't have much time. We'll do the same one that we did in the other class. Yeah, round it to 1 decimal place, yeah. Always just whatever the instructions in the book say to do. And a lot of times they will say to round it to 1 decimal place. Most of the time they do. All right. This is it. This is our last brand new example of the year. You excited? Yeah. All right, so that's A, B, and C. All right, here's what we're going to do. It says solve the triangle. What does that mean to solve the triangle? That means find all the missing parts, right? So we're going to find side C, we're going to find angle A, and we're going to find angle B. Side C is really easy. I'll do that fast. So we can just use Pythagorean theorem to find C, couldn't we? So C squared is equal to 11 squared plus 17 squared. Take the square root of both sides. C is equal to, I already did the work, it's 20.2. All right, it's in inches, but I'll just put 20.2. All right, that was the easy part. Let's do the trig part. Let's solve for angle B first. It doesn't make any difference. I don't know, I always like to solve for the one down here on the bottom. All right, so which trig function are we going to use? I'm finding this angle, angle B. What is 11 to angle B? It's opposite. What is 17 to angle B? It's adjacent. So I've got opposite and I've got adjacent. Which trig function uses opposite and adjacent? OA, something OA. TOA, right. So it's the tangent. So called TOA. You see that? That's how we know to use the tangent. How did I know to use the tangent? Because I've got the opposite and I've got an adjacent. So I use tangent when I have an opposite and adjacent. So watch this. So I go the tangent of B is equal to the opposite, which is 11, over the adjacent, which is 17. Now watch carefully. Everybody look up here. Don't pack up. Don't pack up. Pay attention to me. You might as well just walk out the door if you're going to sit there and pack up. I want to get B by itself. I got to get rid of the tangent. How do I get rid of a tangent? Don't say divide. I take the inverse of the tangent. What happens when I take the inverse of the tangent? It cancels out. And I got to do it, say it, Zion, to the other side. So I got to take the inverse of the other side. You see that? I could have written this, but did you need to? No, because you know it's going to cancel out, right? So what am I going to do with this mess right here? Put it where? Into a calculator. So I hit second function tangent, and then I put 11 divided by 17, close the parentheses, hit enter, and there it is, 32.9. So angle B is 32.9 degrees. How could I find angle A without doing any trig whatsoever? We did it once already today. Come on, you got a right triangle from 90. That's right. So I'm going to go 90 minus 32.9, and that's going to give me 57.1, right? 57.1, and that's angle A. And check it out. We found all three missing parts, didn't we? Right? Oops, this pen. It's me. I think I'm writing too fast. That's why it does that. So look, I find side C, angle B, angle A. Boom. What did I just do? I solved the triangle. Wow. I actually got finished. All right. This is a little revision from what I first gave you on Monday for the lesson plans. So I'm making it a little bit shorter. So you're only doing 1 through 12 and 16 to 20. I think I gave you like 1 to 26 or something before. I forget. But that's all you're doing. All right? And you're doing 12 2. This page is, oops, there it goes again. Let's go a little slower. That's better. So it's page 585, 586, okay? There it is. That's your last homework assignment of the year. Get it done, okay? Do the last one, okay? Don't just say, oh, it's the last one, don't need to worry about it. All right, this is your last chance to get a homework grade. So let's make sure that we get that done. All right? Okay.